What's up, good people? Welcome back to another episode of Undrafted Views. We're here. We talk sports from the sidelines. And today, we're going to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's get into it.
So the Philadelphia 76ers finished 43-30 in the East and landed 6th under coach Brett Brown. They have brought in Doc Rivers to lead the franchise. I'm thinking that was a good move. How about you?
If it's what the organization needed to do to make sure that their prime players in Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons can make it to the next level, then I'm here for it.
Yeah, me too. Because what's happening is I think the tides are shifting a little bit.
Oh.
Ben and Joel have been together for several years now. And I think this year, under a brand new coach, I think this is the year that they at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
I don't see why they wouldn't make it. I do believe that they've added some pieces this particular season that can benefit them in their journey to the conference finals. So we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, so now that you brought up the pieces, let's talk a little bit about what exactly they bring. So there were 3 major signings, in my opinion. So they now have Dwight Howard, who is now an NBA champion, a veteran in the league, and can possibly rub some of that off on Joel Embiid.
I think that's the biggest takeaway from me and the biggest win. I believe that the Sixers actually accomplished this offseason is acquiring Dwight Howard. I believe that if they want to finally make it back to the NBA Finals, the current roster and the willingness to do that will be resting on Joel Embiid's shoulders. I believe that because he is actually phenomenal, right? And the last time the Sixers made it to the NBA Finals and actually won was in 1983. So we're talking about a long drought. Not even... First of all, not even making it to the playoffs, not even seeding for quite some time. And so now recently, within the last 3 seasons, they were able to at least seed in the Eastern Conference. But I just think that Dwight Howard's addition is really about him teaching by way of playing Joel Embiid how to utilize his body more effectively. I believe that. Now, again, Joel Embiid need to make sure he stays healthy. But at the end of the day, from the playing perspective, I believe that Dwight Howard acquisition was the best move that I see for the Sixers.
Yeah. And then the fact that Joel and Dwight will be battling in practice. You know, the first squad always plays the second squad. And I don't think Joel wants to be outdone by an old veteran. So it's going to push him to work even harder. And we're going to see that product during the games.
But let me tell you, although Dwight may be old in age, that body is young. And he is strong. And so Joel Embiid going to have to work some to get past Dwight Howard, which I believe will benefit him during the games. So it's great to see Dwight Howard on that team. I think he will be utilized best as in his veteran years, Dwight Howard, with Joel Embiid. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Okay. So they also brought in Danny Green, who is also a veteran and a 2-time NBA champion. Danny, when he was with the Lakers, he averaged about 8 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist. Now, seems a little low. But Danny, let's not forget, he was the man in Toronto. So I'm hoping with him being in Philadelphia, and I know you're not a big fan. I know you're not a big fan of Danny, but I'm hoping with him being in Philadelphia, it's a brand new start for him. Yeah. And we can see the old Danny Green, really give us some offensive punch in Philadelphia.
If Danny Green turns into the Danny Green of Toronto in 2019, I'm here for it. Because he was balling when he was in Toronto. That Danny Green with the Los Angeles Lakers, miss me. So I believe that the acquiring of Danny Green was hoping that he would be Toronto or even early Spurs Danny Green, to be honest, because he was good then too. That Lakers one, don't you take that to Philly. Don't take that to Philly. Now, what you can do is take your defense to Philly, but that 3 part of your 3D, don't you take that to Philly? Don't do it. They don't want that there. They don't want them. They don't want the LA Lakers 3-point shooting Danny Green. They want the Toronto and early Spurs Danny Green. I'm just gonna be honest.
My God. Okay. Hey, you know what? I'm pulling for Danny. Hey, I think we're going to see the old Danny, but they also brought in Seth Curry, who can help with the offensive punch as well. I really like this acquisition. Philly needed some more perimeter shooting, and that's what you're going to get from Seth.
Yeah, but they had to give up Josh Richardson to get him. And I'm not too certain about that. But if shooting is what they needed, well, they could have kept Josh Richardson if that's what they needed, because he does that too. But Seth is okay. I mean, if he's there, that's great. I don't have a problem with Seth. I like watching him play when he was playing with Dallas Mavericks the season before. It was fine. So it's okay. Yeah. It's interesting, though, on the depth chart, they have him starting. So we'll see how that works, because he didn't start. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now, the thing with Josh Richardson, like you mentioned, is he was a scrappy guard, and he could give you the offensive punch.
Yes.
With Seth, you're only going to get offense. I don't see him as being tough and I don't see him being tough on defense. So they kind of lost that.
I think so too. So did the Sixers not think they needed defense as well? So I know the shooting is something that they really wanted to acquire and improve in this upcoming season, but they didn't think defense should come along with that. It's weird. That's interesting to me. So we'll see how that all plays out. So yeah, you got your shooters, you got your Danny, and you got your Seth, and we'll talk about Tobias. You have him as well. You may have James. We'll mention that too. No, but but I'm just saying, we talk about shooting, but again, if you can't defend when you get deep in the playoffs, that's when it matters. And so for them to trade Josh Richardson, it was kind of odd to me. But we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah. Now, Ben Simmons, I mean, he's a 6'10" point guard. I really like Ben Simmons. 14 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists in 34 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Highly productive.
Yeah.
The problem with Ben is his perimeter shot really needs help. I'm hoping that he worked on that during the offseason, preseason, but I don't know. And Doc Rivers is going to have a very interesting time trying to fit him in to the offense because he can't shoot, but he can give you some assists.
So perhaps his role will change to mainly be a facilitator and less of a shooter, since shooting is something that he doesn't do too well. I mean, he shoots, of course. I mean, he can do a layup for you and he can get you to the rim. But when we're talking about perimeter shooting, that's something that he struggles with. So perhaps Doc will find a way to, if they, retain Ben Simmons, they'll find a way. They'll find a way to, utilize, highlight what he's really, really good at, and maybe less shooting, because now you have hopefully Danny Green of Toronto and you got Seth Curry. So I don't know.
I don't know. I just know that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are a good pairing. Joel Embiid. Yeah.
Okay. Why?
There's no way. I think Joel and Ben need to stay together. They're both very young. They're both not in their primes. They're getting ready to really hit the peak of their NBA career. Why would you break that up and bring in a James Harden? I just don't get it.
And I say that, and I ask the question only because they are trying to get over to the conference finals and hopefully the NBA finals. And so although they are both young, yes, although they are reaching their peak and they have not achieved it yet, I still believe that they have a ways to go, which is great for any team to have on their roster. At what point will the Sixers say this pairing, this is not going to get us there? That's all I'm saying, right? We're going to continue to ride it out, continue to hope for the best. When we know that when they're both on the court, we have problems with floor spacing. We know that Ben Simmons, perhaps in this particular system, and maybe it's going to be different now with Doc Rivers, his shooting is not what we need in order to make it to the next level. And their next level will be the conference finals, right? So I'm just wondering, and you can't have your last conference finals be in 2001 with Allen Iverson. And now here we are with 2 perennial superstars, potentially, and we still can't even get to the conference finals. That's what I'm saying, right? And so there will be a point, there has to be a point when the Sixers say the pairing of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons will not be what gets us there. And we may have to go ahead and bring in James Harden. I'm just saying. I'm just saying it may not happen, but I'm quite sure for James Harden's name and the rumors to be out there that he could potentially be in the discussions with the Philadelphia 76ers and Ben Simmons could potentially be traded. Again, rumor. They may not even be talking. I don't know that, right? But if that does come into fruition, then the Sixers know that they needed something else to be paired with Joel Embiid. And although Ben Simmons is great, he can't be great here. And if you want to be open and honest about what that looks like, then as a Sixers fan, you cannot overshadow that because James Harden really, would you want that on your team? Would you really want today's James Harden on your team? Especially with the way he's acting? No. But his production is unmatched, and that you cannot deny.
Yeah. He's a leader in the whole NBA. He's, most points. But I think it's important to talk about the pieces around Ben and Joel. I mean, Tobias Harris, 19.6 rebounds and 3 assists, and he also starts and plays 34 minutes a game. Now, I think the Ben and Joel pairing is great, but maybe what they needed to do is bring in all these pieces, and this is their trial run. This year is it. If it can't happen after this year, after bringing in all these great pieces, then I think maybe they will go a different direction. But you got to give it a chance.
These organizations don't give nothing a chance. Are you serious? They want to win now. They don't want to win next season.
Well,
but I understand that particular concept too, and I support that as well. I just don't know how much longer can the Sixers fans wait.
Now, another guard that I absolutely love who played great in the playoffs is Shake Milton. When Ben Simmons went out, Shake came in and surprised a lot of people. He was phenomenal in the playoffs.
Yeah, he played preseason as well, so he put up some really nice minutes in the preseason. So, come on, Shake, get it. He's on the depth chart. He's second, behind Ben Simmons, and perhaps, if Doc wants to shake up the roster a bit, they'll start him and put Ben at the 2. I don't know.
Okay. So let's talk about the depth chart. Okay. So at point guard, you got Ben and Shake, and then Seth Curry starting.
Really? I can't. So you going to trade Josh Richardson to start Seth Curry? I'm over it. I don't know. But you know what? Good for Seth, because he rarely starts. So he's been coming off the bench his whole career, considering he was undrafted, right? So, I mean, it's great for him. But for the Sixers, we'll see.
But see, the interesting part about that is he's Doc's son-in-law. Is that why he's starting? I just hope Doc Rivers isn't playing that favoritism game again.
If he didn't learn his lesson with the Clippers, then there is no lesson for him to learn.
Oh my God. Okay, so at power forward is Tobias, he's like a quiet storm. He's very quiet. Nobody talks about him. They hardly interview him, but he's going to get his productivity, which I love.
Yeah, he's going to show up for sure. Yeah.
Now, following Tobias, you have Mike Scott to back him up. Mike Scott averaged about 6 points, 3 rebounds. He only plays about 19 minutes in the game. It's probably going to be a huge drop-off when he comes in on the second squad. And then, of course, at center, we got Joel Embiid and Dwight Howard.
Oh, that's exciting for me. I'm sorry. Okay. Question. If you had to build the 76ers roster and only choose one of the two, would you choose Joel Embiid or would you choose Ben Simmons?
Oh my God. I'm going to go with Joel Embiid because I think his upside and dominance is more prominent.
I agree.
I mean, he can hit the 3 ball. He can go down low with his footwork. He can score in the paint. The only thing about Joel is his defense, I think, is lacking. He averaged 1.3 blocks. And as a 7-foot center, 280 pounds, that's unsatisfactory.
Wasted height. Yes, I agree with you. I think I would go with Joel as well. Aside from his injuries that he is prone to throughout his career, that's about the only knock against his whole production is that, sometimes he's not, he's injured and you can't help injuries. They happen. So I would take the chance with Joel Embiid as well.
Yeah. But the thing with Joel as well is I don't think he's ever been in his prime shape. And sometimes injuries happen because you are not in shape and you're laboring out there on the court.
Yeah.
We can get him in prime shape. He probably will be less injury prone. And we're going to see something phenomenal, I think, this season with Dwight pushing him.
Can you imagine? Oh my God. And he's welcoming it too. That's what's good about it. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So Joel, yeah. So not Ben, huh? But you want Ben to stay.
Okay. I want Ben to stay. I do. I think he's rare. He's a 6'10" point guard. Yeah. He's a lefty. Like, you don't find that's a huge talent. And if he gets traded, I don't even want to talk about it. I'm not going to speak into it in existence. Okay. Yeah, so all in all, I really like, the Philadelphia 76ers. I think with the new leadership and accountability, I think they might be on to something. So what exactly do you think the Sixers need to do next season to be successful?
Well, I think they've already kind of attempted to cover some of the gaps that they had in the previous seasons, and that was with shooting, right? So I think they've identified and further solidified that Ben Simmons may not be the best shooter. And actually, they knew this the summer he was drafted. Okay. So if they know that that's not it, they brought in pieces to help with that gap and in Danny Green and Seth Curry. So I'm cool with that. However, this is not popular. And I said it earlier in this video. Them considering James Harden is not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. I'm not saying it's a perfect idea. And yes, James Harden comes with baggage. And number one, it's that toxic attitude. I get that. But if you want to go to the next level, I am just not certain if bringing in the pieces for shooting is going to be enough. If Ben Simmons, who is really great at the other parts of basketball, can be enough to bring them to the next level, which for them, the 76ers, is the Eastern Conference Finals. That's all I'm saying. So once Ben Simmons gets blocked off in the paint and he cannot drive to the rim, sometimes he becomes ineffective. And with that, it holds the Sixers back from accomplishing their next level goals. That's just all I'm saying.
Now, you're not going to get any defense from James Harden. You will get D from Ben Simmons.
You will. And that's what I'm saying. So it is hard for me to flat out say, yes, trade Ben Simmons, because I know he, and him and Joel Embiid don't mesh. And I don't believe that's the case. But if we're talking about shooting as the primary focus, then perhaps James Harden may be a better fit. Perhaps. If you're talking about defense, then leave Harden in Houston.
So I think they had a big problem with accountability last season under Brett Brown. Now, if Doc Rivers can hold the players, particularly the superstars, accountable, that will take them over the hump, my opinion. And I think, we mentioned it earlier with the whole favoritism thing.
Yeah.
Doc has to keep that in check. If he starts treating Joel and Ben and Seth different than Tobias and, your Danny Greens and your Dwight Howards, there's going to be a problem. So as long as he can keep that in check, we'll be good.
I think he will be okay as long as he doesn't treat Seth differently. That Seth is going to be the one. Oh, that's your son-in-law. So that's why, you're going to have that. Because I'm quite sure that Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are getting preferential treatment right now. What superstar is not? Let's stop it. All of them are. We just don't know about them because they're winning.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, and then my last suggestion is Joel Embiid on defense. I don't know if it's because he's been injured and halfway out of shape, but to average 1.3 blocks,
yes,
as a center, unacceptable. Thank you all for tuning in. We are going to wrap this episode up. Make sure you engage us in the comments. And if you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We will see you guys on the next one. But until then,
peace.
Peace, y'all.